Welcome. In this video, we will discuss about the latest summit of BRICS. So it was the 12th BRICS summit which was held very recently and it was chaired by the Russia. So we will discuss about what all the points were discussed by the three major countries which are part of BRICS like your China, India and Russia. And apart from that, we will also discuss what BRICS is all about and what all countries are a part of it. So let's move forward. The first thing we need to know is that the Prime Minister of India, while addressing the 12th BRICS summit held online, touched upon issues like terrorism, COVID-19, pandemic and need for reforms in global bodies. So we will discuss about the ideas that was muted by our Prime Minister in the virtual summit. So just remember again, this summit was held virtually, just like what we discussed about the SECO summit. So all these organization, their summits are being held in the video conferencing mode because of the present pandemic situation. So right now, in this particular summit, India mooted a lot of topics including terrorism, COVID-19 as well as reforms. We will discuss about that in the upcoming slide itself. So as mentioned earlier, Russia was the host and the chair for BRICS this year. So this particular on a rotation basis, every country get to be a chair and host. So that's how the circulation of the country which could be the chair was held. So let's move forward and try to understand what are the key points which were discussed. So from India side, our Prime Minister talked about the major thing including terrorism. So he told that it is the need to confront the countries that supported and sponsored terror and should be held guilty, and this problem is addressed in a collective manner. So this is something which was muted by our Prime Minister in the virtual summit, that the collective manner of counter-terrorism is required. India acknowledged the Russian support to the BRICS counter-terrorism strategy. Now this is something India actually gave its support towards, or kind of say that the BRICS counter-terrorism strategy, how the Russia supported, is very much what is needed in this particular time, and reiterated its supports to the strategy. So not only Russia, India also support the counter-terrorism strategy which is adopted by the BRICS. It is well aligned with the Brasilia Declaration which condemned terrorism in all forms and manifestation. So if you actually think about it, way back in like a few years back, there has to be an idea of good terrorism, bad terrorism. But the Brasilia Declaration came up and that decided that terrorism has to be condemned in its all form and manifestation, and there is nothing like good terrorism or bad terrorism. And India always had this kind of point of view. So this Brasilia Declaration was actually a great diplomatic win for India. Then the other point which was mentioned by the Prime Minister during the summit is about the UNSC reform. So India is going to become the non-permanent member in 2021, and in that regard again the UNSC reforms in terms of how the permanent seats and non-permanent seats are right now organized, which does not represent the global scenario of the present day. So such kind of reforms is again what our Prime Minister highlighted, that India raised issues of credibility and effectiveness of the institution that were necessary for global governance and urged for support from BRIC partner. So if you remember, a closed kind of a group which is known as the G4, which include India, Brazil, Japan and Germany, who are talking about the push for the reform in the UNSC. So in that regard again, India asked the support from the other BRIC member that they should also support India in its push towards the UNSC reform. Then obviously in the present time, COVID pandemic is a very important issue which need cooperation from across countries. So India addressed the issue of cooperation among the BRICS countries on the production of vaccine for COVID-19. So the vaccine production for COVID-19 is very important to curb the present pandemic, and in that regard the cooperation from all the members of BRICS was what asked by the Indian Prime Minister. Then he also muted the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is your self-reliant India campaign, and in that India introduced the Atmanirbhar Bharat to the BRICS. So it introduced the concept of the Atmanirbhar Bharat. India said that the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign is based on the subject that is self-reliant and resilient India can become a force multiplier for the post-COVID-19 world order. So we know that post-COVID-19 world order could be different because of the major changes or the major kind of geopolitical changes which has happened during this time. So in that regard, this idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat is also very important from the perspective of how the geopolitical presence of India become prominent in the upcoming years. So these are the major points which our Prime Minister pointed out during the virtual summit, the 12th BRICS summits which was held recently. Now let's just quickly see what the China talk about. So it offered to cooperate with India and other BRICS nations in the development of vaccines against the coronavirus. Now if you actually understand, the coronavirus actually started its outbreak from the China itself. So from that regard, it's actually something which to be taken into consideration, that now it has says that for vaccination it will support the BRICS and the India specifically. China said that it will open the BRICS partnership on a new Industrial Revolution Innovation Center in Chinese city of Xiamen. So there is a new industrial revolution. We know that we are into the industrial revolution 4.0, which is based on the new innovation and technology. And there is an innovation center which is there in the Xiamen city of China. And China said that it will open this particular center for the other BRICS nation. China supported the BRICS counter-terrorism strategy. So Russia, India and China, they all are supporting the counter-terrorism strategy that called upon the all countries to take steps to prevent the use of their territory for terrorist activities against the other countries or their own citizens. Now we have to look at it from that perspective, that Pakistan and China are actually close ally, and in fact, the whole world order is kind of aware of the fact that there are terrorists, or the safe haven is there for terrorists in the Pakistan. So in that regard, China coming up in open and saying that it actually supports the Brazilian declaration regarding the counter-terrorism strategy is lot to take for. Also, it supported the declaration which talked about the respect for territorial integrity of Syria, Libya, Iraq in the context of UN. So basically the Syria, Libya and Iraq, which are constantly in the tumultuous state. So for that also China has extended its support that the territorial integrity of these particular nations are also to be respected for. So these are the something which China has highlighted. So these are the things which were talked about by the India as well as China, and other BRIC nations also participated in the 12th BRICS summit. Now let's just quickly understand what is basically BRICS. So BRICS is an acronym for the grouping of world's leading emerging economies. So it is actually the grouping of emerging economies, and they include Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. So these are the consortium or the group of countries which have come together to have a kind of a strategy to move forward to become from emerging economies to the developed economy. So BRIC does not exist in form of organization. Now this is an important point. Just remember, it is not any organization, but it is an annual summit between the supreme leaders of 5 nations. So basically every year it is actually the BRICS summit which is held, and it is not an organization in general. The chairmanship of the forum is rotated annually among the members in the accordance with the acronym BRICS. So basically, if it is Russia, then next time it's going to be India, then China, then South Africa. So this is how it's going to move forward. So right now we know that the 12th BRICS summit, it was the Russia which chaired or hosted this particular summit. So next year it's going to be India. Together, BRICS account for 40% of the world population. So we have the most two populous countries in this particular grouping, China and India. So together they along with the Russia and your Brazil and South Africa, they account for 40% of the world population and about 30% of the GDP. So GDP wise also they are very prominent grouping, making it a critical economic regime. Also, a thing for you to remember is that New Development Bank is associated with BRICS. So this is a kind of a bank which is similar to your other financial institution like your World Bank and IMF, but different in that regard that unlike what happens in World Bank, that according to the contribution, each country get its vote share. In New Development, it is actually one vote, one value, which typically means that irrespective of the contribution, every country has a particular one vote. So this kind of institutional mechanism has also been set up under the leadership of BRICS. So these are the few things that you need to know about BRICS. So let's just quickly also geographically see where these countries are. So we have Brazil over here, South Africa, India, China and Russia. So these alone account for the 40% of the world population and 30% of the world's GDP. So just remember these figures. These could come in handy while writing your answers in your main examination. So if there is a question regarding the relevance of BRICS in the present world, or how the contemporary relationship between China, Russia and India are playing into the future of BRICS, so in that regard it becomes like when you are introducing your answer, you can start by what is BRICS and you can definitely give out this data. So I hope you have understood this video. If you have any doubt, feel free to drop a comment. Thank you.